Today we continue the work on our modular D&D city by making some plaza and road tiles for use in our tabletop game. So our number one ingredient and crafting material that we're going to be using is this. This is some just simple craft foam. I got this at Michael's for, I think I paid $1.50 or $2 for this. It's a fairly good size. It's about 12 inches by 18 inches, so get a lot of real estate out of this. It's about 1/16 of an inch thick, and what I'm going to do to start off is just kind of cut this into strips that are 3 inches wide. This is going to give a lot easier time kind of preparing these into textured pieces in the next step. So I'm going to cut a bunch of these, and then we will be right back. Alright, so now that I've got these all cut, I'm just going to tack this down. Now, I wouldn't actually recommend hammering into your workbench, but, you know, I kind of did. Now I'm using a heat gun, a texture roller, and after tapping this thumbtack back in, I'm just going to use the heat gun to warm up the foam, and then doing as even pressure as I can, roll the texture roller out and just kind of imprint that into the foam. Now, once this gets heated up and the texture is rolled onto it, as long as the foam doesn't go above like 150 or so degrees, the texture won't come out, and it'll just kind of be there forever. And I think this is going to be a pretty nice way to make textured pieces in the future, so definitely going to keep this idea in my back pocket for a while. So once all of the strips had been textured, I cut them into a couple of different sections. I made a bunch of 3 inch by 3 inch sections and some 3 inch by 2 inch sections. Okay, so now that we have our texture, let's make the tiles. So I'm going to start off by making a plaza tile. Now a plaza is basically just kind of walkways and areas of the city that aren't designated as roads. And to kind of keep this fairly modular and easy to handle and a little bit rigid, I'm gluing this extra piece of craft foam down onto a dollar store clipboard that I took the kind of clip section off of. And this is just going to make it a little bit rigid and fairly stable, so it won't kind of flop around or bend and potentially break apart. Now, the clipboard is 12 inches by 9 inches, so that's going to be perfect for our grid. And all I'm going to do is just glue down some of these 3 inch by 3 inch textured pieces, and this is going to create a 15 foot by 15 foot grid for playability in D&D and tabletop games. Now I'm going to finish this tile off camera, and on camera here we're going to make our actual road work. So for these tiles I'm going to make the road be about 5 inches wide, and I'm still going to maintain a 3 inch by 3 inch grid. So we're going to end up with a 2 inch wide kind of sidewalk and then a 5 inch wide road. Now for playability terms, that's going to be a 10 foot wide sidewalk on either side of the road, and the road itself is going to be 25 foot, using the 1 inch as 5 foot measurement. Now for the sidewalks, I'm going to glue down a few strips of 1/4 inch thick craft foam that I got from Michael's. It's pretty cheap stuff. I think I paid $1 for a couple of pieces and just kind of trimmed them down to size. Then using the 2 inch by 3 inch textured pieces that we made earlier, I'm gluing those down to maintain the grid work, and this will just kind of create some nice texture for the sidewalks. Now, any areas that kind of have a little bit of a raised edge or a gap after gluing these down, I'll just kind of go back and apply a little bit more hot glue under the edge to make sure everything is held down kind of securely. So once our sidewalks are in place, we can start prepping the sunken area to kind of accept some texture. I'm going to go with a fairly even coating of tacky glue across a kind of small section of the sunken area. Now, if you're using just kind of like regular PVA glue and not tacky glue, you can probably go a larger area, but I want to make sure that the glue doesn't start to dry, and to make that easier for application, it's just a small section at a time. Once the glue has been laid down and I have the area coated that I want, I covered it with some of these little glass beads they're intended to be filler for like flower vases and things like that. I found these at a craft store on clearance, and they make excellent little cobblestones. So once they've been kind of laid down, I'm just going to smooth out the pile and remove any extras. So anything that kind of sticks to my fingers as I kind of tap it around, I remove until I have just a single layer of little cobblestones. Now, fair warning, if you do this, you're going to get a ton of glue on your fingers, but there's really no way to avoid that. Even if you kind of pick the piece up and shake it off, there's still going to be a few that are stuck on that you're going to have to remove manually. Alright, so once that's all done, I'm going to finish out the grid by taking a popsicle stick that I shaved down and just kind of wedging it in between all of the cobbles to kind of force that grid back into place. And here you can kind of see it on camera. It's a pretty nice even line. Alright, so now I think it's time to do a little painting. Okay, so I took this out and gave it a coating in flat brown from Krylon spray paint. And just to kind of preserve some of the texture from the roller that I used, I'm going to very quickly brush off with a dry rag all of the surface of the little flagstone sidewalks. Now this is going to leave the brown in the recesses, which is kind of nice. So next I'm going to coat all of the cobblestones with a fairly heavy layer of some burnt umber. Now this is going to be a nice kind of dark, well, not really a dark, but a nice dirt layer underneath the surface of the cobblestones. And once that's done, we can kind of let that section dry and do a little bit of an overbrush of some Artist Loft gray on all of the flagstone. We're not going to really coat the lower areas. We're just going to focus on the raised areas to kind of leave some of those dark crevices. And then once the cobblestone had dried, I did a fairly substantial overbrush of the same Artist Loft gray onto all of the cobbles. Now, I didn't really let the cobblestone dry from the burnt umber all the way, so I ended up doing 2 coats for this. So once that was actually dry, I went back and grabbed some neutral gray and then did a kind of medium dry brush over all of the cobblestones. This will give it a nice kind of little highlight and help pick out the raised areas of the sunken section of the road. Then I did a quick and simple dry brush over all of the flagstone, and this is going to help pick out all the raised areas. We're still going to have those nice little dark patches, and a lot of the gray is still going to show through the neutral gray. All of this will dry a little bit darker than it appears on camera. Now to kind of solidify all of the tile together, I'm doing a dry brush of some warm gray. I just want to kind of hit the edges of all of the stonework. This is going to give a nice little edge highlight and kind of unify the whole piece together with some patches of the other colors showing through. So now I'm going to create a curb that's going to go along our road. Taking some 5mm by 10mm bricks, I split them down the center, and then using some strips of cereal box cardboard, just kind of glued a few of the brick pieces in a line along the strip. And I made sure to cut these to 6 inches. Since our road is 12 inches long, it'll be a little bit easier gluing these in 2 sections. So once the glue dried, I did a double coating of some Artist Loft gray mixed with a little bit of Mod Podge, just to kind of give them a little bit more firmness and rigidity. Then I dry brushed on some neutral gray to give it a little bit of that color pop to kind of help match it to the rest of our flagstone. And then finished it off with a fairly light dry brush of some warm gray, just to give it that little bit of an edge highlight. And then to attach it, I did a combination of tacky glue and hot glue. The tacky glue is going to go kind of towards the centers, and the hot glue is just going to help tack everything in place while the tacky glue dries and solidifies everything connected together. Alright, and just like that, we have finished episode 2. So these were pretty easy to put together. They did take a little bit of time, but I'm loving the finished product. They are going to make setting up city encounters a lot faster for the tabletop game. Alright, and now I think it's a little story time. The goblin horde has broken through the city gates, and many of the town guard have fallen back to the markets. But the horde seems endless in their numbers. A desperate call for reinforcements has brought Ilara, a paladin of the local temple, as well as Arturius, an artificer, to aid them in battle. But did they arrive in time, and will this help be enough? Roll for initiative. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and for your patience as these episodes come out. Hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see everyone next episode.